Welcome to some more woodworking. I'm Nick. Today I want to walk you guys through the entire process of how to build this guy. Besides the design portion, I'll just have the file linked down below for free. But this is a nice Valentine's Day project for your mom, your wife, anyone else in your family. It's pretty simple. I'll walk you through all the steps on how to get it to your machine, how to create the tool paths, and how to put it on your machine, how to cut it, how to sand it, and what to look for, what dimensions you need to set. But over 90% of all the work is already pretty much done. You just got to walk through it at your own pace, and you'll have this finished product right here. And this part pops out. These two pieces come apart. And this guy here is just sitting inside, so it's just a big giant puzzle piece. I guess the only thing that you might have a problem with is if you have more than 2 kids or something like that. I guess pick your 2 favorite or double them up. I don't know, up to you. Making these pieces right here is kind of difficult, so I didn't exactly go into depth on how to create the puzzle piece itself and do the offsets and such. So that might be a little advanced part there I might go through later. But if you could, like, share, and definitely click the subscribe button down below. It really helps the channel grow. I will be giving away one of these nice Jenny bits once we get to 1,000 subscribers. We're very, very close. Thank you guys so much. I'm not sponsored by anybody, purely my own money. No one's giving me anything, so I really, really, really appreciate you guys helping. Let's get to it and start the project. Thanks again. So on to the design part. This file, I'm not going to go through how to do all these designs of these guys. I'm just going to walk you through the most important parts because this file I'll put up for free online. In the video description, I'll put a link to it. You can grab it, use it, whatever you want to do. I would say be very careful if you do scale this, because this piece and this piece fitting inside, and then this fitting inside this heart here, and then of course that fitting in there, it's going to be very difficult to scale all together, which it is possible, but this piece is just a bit smaller than that one. This one's just a bit smaller than that one. I believe it's 0.02 inches smaller. There's a guy in one of the groups that figured out size for puzzle pieces, the size, like going on and on and on, what you needed for tolerances. You don't want these to be the exact same sizes, or you can't get them together unless you use a vise, and you're never going to get them undone. So don't mess with that unless you really know what the hell you're doing. If you look here too, you see these 2 squares here. These are 2 different pieces of wood because I want them to alternate. I want this outside piece to be one color, then that to be another color, then that to be another color, then this to be another color. So this is outer, going more inner, and then this is the very base. So I want them to keep alternating. That's my thoughts on that right there. You're going to need to look over here and do job size and position. So this is getting zeroed from the bottom left, showing right there. Material thickness, mine is 0.875. Both these boards do need to be the exact same thickness because you're going to be putting letters in them with Vcarve, and you're going to be taking 1 0 and then just doing both of the boards. Make sure that these are both the same thickness. Use a thickness planer. If not, use a flattening bit and flatten them. Make sure that your boards are flat. Make sure that you've already trimmed your wasteboard, everything else, or else this is going to turn into a huge ordeal for you. Also, going off that, this is the base right here, right? So the width here is determined by this guy, the width there, and that's already been done. You won't have to alter that. What you will have to do though is, depending on the thickness of your wood, of this piece of wood right here, is the thickness, well, the height of this right here is that thickness. So you're going to have to alter that for whatever your piece of wood is. Mine was 0.875, so I put 0.875 as this inner square right here, and then after that I went over here to offset, and then 0.02 inches, and that's that outer one. So the outer one is the one I'm actually going to cut, which is right here, because you need to leave a bit of a tolerance so it'll fit in there. You do not want to make it the exact same size or it will not fit. The other thing is I'm cutting this with a 1/4 inch end mill. So 1/4 inch with a circle, if I can get one. So we'll say 0.25, press a button. There's nothing special in this world that can make a circle fit inside of a square perfectly. So when that end mill comes on over, you know, it's going to cut this larger square. So here's your end mill riding on along, right? And then it's going to bump into there. And then it's going to go down. So there's a couple ways to handle this. Either the piece that fits in here, you can sand that part out. You can come back with an 1/8 inch end mill. You can do this whole thing with an 1/8 inch end mill. And it'll get you closer, but it's not going to be a square. Just to let you know, it will not be a square. You can't make a circle a square. It's not going to happen. The other thing you can do is you can oversize this so you can fit an 1/8 inch end mill. I don't know. So you can make the 1/8 inch end mill go to like there. So you basically put like a half circle there. I think those kind of look like shit. So I'm going to have it do this. And you know what, if I have to do a little bit, I will. Then this cut there, so let me delete this. This pocket right there is done in this right here. So look, I'm using a 1/4 inch end mill. You can also add an 1/8 to this and we'll go and touch that up, yada yada. I didn't really feel like it, but I'm going 3/10 of an inch down, and because of that, this piece right here is going to set inside that 3/10 of an inch. So you want to make sure your wording is up here higher, because if you put this too low, you're not going to be very happy with it. So let me show you. Put a line right there, and then put it 0.3, enter. So right there, and let me escape that. That's how deep it's going to be sitting in there. So basically anything below that, you see that dotted line right there, you're not going to see. Assuming it goes all the way down. I put these letters a little bit high because I think it'll look better. Let me erase that. So you need to adjust that for whatever you want. And other than that, I will show you the video of me putting these pieces of wood in there. I used these guys here. I'll have a link for them down below. They drill through the wood, obviously, and then they leave you a nice little countersink all in one real quick, and then you put your screws through. What I also made sure to do is right here, I do not cut anything, because that's where I know I'm going to put a screw there. I'm going to put a screw here, so I don't cut there. I'm going to put a screw here, going to put a screw here. Then the other thing I need to do is figure out what the distance is from here to here and start that next board. So I'm going to zero right here. This doesn't matter where, you know, there could be 7 inches below here. It doesn't matter on my spoil board. It matters right when I move it up and I set my XY 0 here. From there up, the machine only gives a damn about all this here. So I need to figure out the distance from here to here and place my board right there. So I'm going to measure that. Looks like 14 inches is what I have on the board, so I may actually have to move this. I hadn't specifically measured it yet. I figured it'd be nice to show you guys. So the way that I like to do that is I'll take my line tool, put it right there, and I'll type in 14, enter, and then put it out here so it leaves me a little mark. You can see that's where this should be. So let me grab all this. Grab everything that's supposed to be in there. And I'm going to move it up to that line. All right, so that'll be 14 inches. So I took my board that's physically on my spoil board. I took a tape measure, pulled right there, and saw where it's at, because I do have grids and I know for sure it's straight across. So I got all that straightened out. Now, just because I did that, my toolpaths don't give a damn. It doesn't know anything happened yet. What you have to do if you make any of those changes, see, if you look over here, my 3D view, it didn't change. This is what these paths are currently set up to do. And it's going to miss that board. It's not going to be great. So over here, recalculate all. See how those are all different? Because I move that thing up, you see where it's right there? So now when I go to my 3D preview, I need to reset preview and preview all toolpaths. All right, so now it's set up where this is 14 inches above there to here. Now, I'm going to show you how to zero the machine, and I'm going to show you how to save all these toolpaths, because I don't want to go back and forth. But each one, see one's with a 60-degree V-bit. And if we select that, see it's here, here, here. If you do have really thin material, you might have to do a flat depth. I wouldn't recommend doing this project with thin material. I would at least have a 1/2 inch material because it's going to have to be kind of sturdy standing up on its own. I put the 60-degree V-bit in it as the title, and then the 0.25 end mill is going to be the pocket, which you can see right here. There's the pocket. And then the profile cut is an 1/8 inch end mill, and I use that so I could waste the least amount of material. And you can see it right there. With all these, you need to save them separately. So I'm going to save it separately. So click save, save it on your desktop, and then once you get to there, I'm going to just save it real quick. So save. All right, so I've already homed my machine. Everything's already been homed, or been homed. This is the homing button if you need to do it. Make sure everything's out of the way. We're going to be taking our zeros off of the spoil board. So I'm going to move the machine over to my XY0, and then once I get over there, I will be pressing this button and then this button. Okay? Those two, once you press them, I'll just press them right now just to show you. It will zero out that, and then right here, it will zero out this. Ignore the over because that has an old toolpath, and where the machine's located right now, it says, hey, I don't have enough space to move. And then Z, once I get it over there, I will probe Z. I'll press this button. So remember that. I'm going to press it and go through it. Then over here, I will load it. So first I want to do the Vcarves. I loaded in the Vcarve file. I do not want to do the exterior cuts yet because it seems to make the wood kind of wobble. And while you're doing the Vcarve, it runs pretty fast. And it's turned out really bad for me if the wood wasn't completely stable. So we're going to do the Vcarve first. You can see which file's in there. And once I get to where I need to be, I will rehome it and relook at this, but if you look, you can tell that my 0 is at the spoil board because it's lower. If not, it would be up here. And then you can also tell that my 0 is at the bottom left of my material because it's obviously here. And then this is the router in its spot, so once it starts moving, you know, we can move it. I'll move it around. So physically, I just move the router. And you can see it's way to the left. Once it starts, it's going to start here no matter what because I set that as my point. So I'm going to walk you through putting in the V-bit, zeroing it, and I showed you how to zero in the machine. I'm just going to press that because it's a real pain in the ass to move the camera back and forth nonstop. But we'll do that. And between bits, the only thing you do is you probe Z and try to use the same physical spot on your spoil board each time you do it. I will show you that as well. But we'll do the Vcarve, and then we'll do the pocketing, and then we'll go do the cutout because the cutout uses the 1/8 inch end mill, which you have to use a different collet for. So I got my machine over here. First I'm going to remove the bit, go to loosen, make sure that guy's clean in there. Grab your other collet, bring this up a little bit. Now I'm going to grab my 60-degree V-bit because that's what the profile calls for, and pop him in there. Okay, tighten that guy all up. Store the mini Jenny there. Keep this guy off because you're going to want to see what's happening. So we're going to move this over. Go get our 0. So use the same physical spot for all of your zeros so they don't change on you. Bring over your probe. I'd say get it within 3/4 of an inch of it. Now we're going to press that button. Remember, probe Z. Press this up, touch it, it says OK. Let's probe for Z. It's going to go down decently fast, touch it, go back up, and then it'll go extremely slow because it knows the general position. It's going to really hone in on it. There you go, that is all done. Now comes the slightly tricky part. So lift this up, obviously higher than your material. And we're going to move this to the very edge of our material, bottom left. Remember when the program had that. So with the nice thing with the V-bit is it's like an arrow pointing to the exact dead center 0. Okay, that looks like it for X. And then for Y, looking at it this way, okay, so this way, which is your Y, it is on the very edge, so I'm going to press the 0 button, which is the circle with a downward facing point. So now that's all done. We've already set our Z. We've set our X and Y 0. If you look at the updated chart on your PC, if you send it over that way, if you have the small screen, it's not going to show that. But on the PC, it'll show you the preview of what's going to happen that I was just alluding to earlier. It should have updated and it should look just about right. You can also physically move over and see where the big yellow probe is at, which would be your router. So you can move over there and see if it's going to line up where you hope for it to. Now we got to set our router speed. Yours may vary. I see with V-bits around 6 is great. And then I'm going to put a shim in there, stop it from moving. All right. Now, on your machine, you do need dust collection. You need to get that going. So I'm going to put in my earplugs because that's going to get loud and with the machine running. So I'm going to turn this guy on. And then over at the computer, going to press play. Click continue. Turn on my dust collection. Okay, we finished with our first toolpath here with the Vcarve. We do not need that bit anymore, so let's take that out of there. Okay, loosen that guy. Now, put in the 1/4" end mill, because the next toolpath we are going to load in is that pocket, which has the piece that's going to set in, or it's going to hold the piece that's going to set in there. So at this point, we need to reuse our Z probe. Touch that here. Get a little bit closer, say about a 1/2 inch from there. Only click probe Z. So we're going to probe Z, ask us to touch that, click continue. Okay, so we got that done. This guy's all probed out. Do not touch X and Y. And we're gonna have to set our speed. Mine's usually around 3 for this guy. Okay. Load in the new file. So I'm gonna go over to the computer, load in the pocket toolpath. All right. And press play on it. Now it's going to tell me, hey, start up your engines, get your dust collection going. So I'm going to get all this out of the way. Start her up. Dust collection. Let's continue. Before you turn it off, get your dust collector to clean off the spot that you're going to be using your probe. And get some other dust if you can. This dust collector works a lot better whenever I actually have the front on, but it works still pretty good with the front off, and you guys can see stuff. That's my favorite part about it. I do have a dust collection video you guys can check out online, and I'll link it in the end, which talks about my dust collection setup and the things I made for it. And this is the Onefinity CNC version 3 that I'm using here with added parts that I made. So over here, we got our last tool path, which is the 1/8 inch end mill. To remove that. And if your bit's really hot at this point, you need to check your feeds and speeds. It should not be hot. 1/8 inch collet. Now you need to make sure with your 1/8 inch bit that you're going to have enough room for it to cut all the way through the full depth. You need to make sure that you have enough right here. It's going to cut right there. The way I like to do it is be extremely careful. Go down, look at it from this angle down here, and it looks like we're going to have enough room. So, next thing we need to do, clean off that area, or that whole probing Z thing. Make sure it's nice and clean down there. Okay, it looks like about a half, whoa. Looks like about a 1/2 inch from the bit from here. Probe Z. Gotta touch that to there. Now it's happy. Click continue. Click done. Make sure to lift that up, because if you go back, you're gonna hit it against this piece of wood like this and snap it right off, and you're gonna have a really bad day. Check your speeds. I got it at 3. That's where I usually set. I don't usually go below 3 with these routers. They're not too happy whenever you do that. Do not touch your X and Y 0. Now go over to your computer, and you're gonna load in the 1/8 inch end mill program. Loaded in my 1/8 end mill program, press start. Now, fire this guy up. Move him out of the way. Turn on the dust collection. Let's go. This is the white stuff I was talking about. I really like. So it's obviously finished. Going to get everything out of our way. Okay. These guys are going to be held in with tabs. Got to remove all these screws. Okay, I went and found one of my X-Actos. So yeah, I'm gonna have a little bit of chip out there. Normally I don't if I use an X-Acto. Using a pocket knife, it's not nearly as sharp and it can't get all these edges. That's why they do, some people do overcut. See that? So pretty nice there. So to take care of these tabs here, to cut with flush trim saw. I'll have a link of this in the description if you want to buy one. I mean, they're nothing too spectacular to purchase. They work, they get it done. There's no real brand loyalty. It's just making it work. See that? Still got a little bit of tab there. So I know with each piece I set up with these guys 2 tabs, so I didn't look for any more. Looks like this one I did 2 as well. I think I did 2 with all of them. With these tabs, I tried not to set them in here because I want these surfaces to stay pretty much the same. I don't want to have to sand them very much because it's a fit surface. Fits right in there. So I really don't want to mess with it too much. Obviously I screwed up with that tab, so I'll have to sand that, but where I could avoid it I did. Got these ones, and then definitely didn't want to put them, you know, in these really bad parts there. So if you want, you can come back with one of these and flush trim it. That's what they're really nice for. I'm just going to use my sander. I like that a bit better, but if it's a flat surface, I'll do it. This is kind of curved. I don't really like that, but you see that white there? I want to have that facing forward. And clean that up. So let's go over to the sander, make a little mess over there, and then yeah, show you the final piece. these corners right here are gonna have to be rounded off since they don't precisely fit in there. They're damn close, but not exactly. So let's measure what we actually got. Almost 3/10 of an inch. Let me zero that out. Yeah, almost 3/10. Let's look at this. Right, 3/10. Just gonna mark on the inside of 3/10 here. Both sides. Go over to the sander real quick and just right there, if you can see, just round those corners off just a hair. So I still need to do some hand sanding there. That was another operation I think probably should have been hand sanded, but it happened. So there it is, fits in there. Guy fits up there. So this guy fits in there. Guy fits in there. And there you go, you got your puzzle piece. Okay, so I ended up finishing the project up after the sanding. I just put a little bit of walrus oil on it, kept it like nice and safe for the kids. You could finish it with whatever you'd like. After a bit of light sanding, a lot of it was hand sanding. Now it fits together. It's still a little tight, so maybe I'll sand it a little bit more. But it looks very, very nice. Wife loves it. And hopefully you guys learned something here, how to take a project from start to finish with your new machine. I know it can seem overwhelming at first, but once you start doing this thing after a while, it becomes just second nature. If you could, like, share, and definitely subscribe down below. And remember, once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll be giving away one of these Jenny bits here. The only thing you have to do is subscribe and you're automatically entered. And this is all out of my money, not sponsored by anybody. Thanks again. Also, I'll have it linked, hopefully here at the end. I'm still figuring out YouTube and editing and stuff. I'm currently building a bandsaw mill, and if you guys want to join along on that project, it's kind of taken away from this, but I'll keep trying to make these videos and teaching you guys some more tricks and tips. But I'm going to make a bandsaw mill so I can start milling my own lumber. I think it might be kind of fun. I know it's not exactly woodworking, but the end goal is. If you want, it'll be linked up here. And yeah, thanks again. Have a good one.